Hey, how's it going? And welcome back to the Java playlist. So in this video, we are going to just go over some more methods, kind of grind in as much method and passing variables and calling methods, because at the end of the day, Java is pretty much just a bunch of methods and classes being called and interacting with each other. So this is going to just be, I wouldn't say a recap, but what we'll have. So what I've done is int num call. So that's just the number of times we're going to call certain methods. Um, I'm going to just show you something with regards to variable scope. So uh, so we're going to just have two different provinces, and we'll have Ontario and public static void Quebec. And what we're going to have here are just the same. So you can have the same variable in different, like these variables are local. So we'll have, say, number of cars in Ontario, and we can set that to equal like 10,000. I know there's more, but and then we can have the exact same variable in the Quebec method. So this is just showing that the variable scope is only to the local method. So that means that you can have the same variables here if you want, declared in here if they're related, without having to rename a bunch. I mean, it's good to kind of differentiate as much as you can, so people that may use your code. But we'll start with this system dot. There are plus numcars plus in Ontario. And then we'll just copy this. This is kind of just I would say, a refresher on methods, but it's good to kind of understand the small things because those are where your errors are going to be. As you've seen throughout my videos and playlists, like it's never really a massive error. Sometimes it is, but it's usually just misnaming a variable and understanding the scope of a variable and where its domain is. So this numcar's domain is in this. So here we're gonna just do a for loop, and so int I equals 0, I less than or equal to num calls, um, I plus plus. So this hasn't been initialized yet. So this is where we'll finish this method or this for loop first, and all you have to do is just call the method. So both those methods are being called, and all we have to do is just set how many times we want to call them. So let's just call it 3 times, both of them, and we'll run it. So we get it called 3 times. So, oh, we actually get it called 4 times because we set I equal to 0, um, and our num less than or equal to. So if we could have left it as 0 here. And we will save that and run again, so it just runs 3 times like we intended. That is basically how you uh, do that. The next thing we're gonna do is actually uh, we're gonna we're gonna show how to pass more than one variable. I think, did we do that in the last one? No, we didn't. So we'll just have public static uh, void sum num int num1 int num2. So it's pretty straightforward. We're passing in 2 variables, and we're going to hold the sum um, uh, we're gonna do the math inside the method. Like, this is the point of having some complex methods, is that we don't have to do all this in the main method, as I've said many times, I think. We just have to call it from the main method, so we can reuse this method as many times as we want throughout our actual code, like our actual execution of the program. So, and then we'll just send some, we'll make it a little prettier. The sum is plus sum. So we have 2 variables here, and we haven't actually called the method up here. So what we can do is just declare num1, num2, and uh, we can declare them. So let's do 4 plus 28, and we will call it outside of it so we don't get the same thing 3 times. So all we have to do is just go sum, and this is where we pass 2, num1 and num2, into the method, and this will pass into here. It'll be used here. I mean, we could say that, oh, well, no, we actually have to keep it whatever we're passing in there, because we've declared these integers. Like, we could easily change the value, the definition or name of the variables by declaring it and setting it to num1 coming in, but this is the simple and efficient way of doing it. So I'll save that and run it. So the sum is 32, and we have our old code from before. Sweet. So the next thing we'll quickly do, which isn't that difficult, we can do the exact same thing, but this time we have a return method. So we have a method that is returning a value. Now, we can't have the same name, sum return, but instead of having a void, we actually can return our data type. So we know that we are returning an integer. So this is this is we this is a method where we can take in num1. Oh, we'll do 2 new ones, num3 int num4, and then we don't even have to do any of this. All we have to do is return num3 plus num4. So the reason why this is useful is that we can actually we can actually grab, like, if we know what the return type is, you may have certain methods that you pass in information to do calculations, and then certain methods to return them. So it's not necessarily that you need to do a ton of calculations. Sometimes you just need to grab information from a method. Like, uh, so like an example is like a very common set of methods in objects are getters and setters. So a getter is getting a return type from it. You'll see this as we start building classes and objects. And a setter is one that you set the object. So data is coming in, it's doing some calculations, and a getter would be returning something. So that sounds a little like hieroglyphs right now, uh, but you'll understand. All you need to know is that some you don't need to return it. Like, you can do the operations in here, and some you actually have to return a data type, and you have to set the type of data that you're returning. So I hope that makes some sense. We'll run this. We have to declare a couple numbers here. So we will return 3. Oh, all we have to do is do num3 equals 25 and num4 equals 21. And we will call some, what did I write that? Some return. And num3, num4. So it's just passing it and it's returning it. It's quite simple. Like, the sum thing is the sum method that we're doing right now. It's kind of just a very elementary foundational example, but usually it's grabbing information. I can't really explain it except with doing it down the road, and you'll see as we use more and more methods, we're going to be needing a certain data type. So I'll shut up now and just run this, and we will end the video. What did I do here? Hmm. Did I do something wrong? Yo. Oh yeah. So we don't have a print statement in here. It's returning a value, so we had to print it out to actually see it, but it is stored in memory as the sum of it. And yeah, that's it for this. I hope that made some sense, and we'll be covering probably a bit more methods, a bit more arguments, like passing through stuff, problem solving with like more complex ones, and strings and all that sort of stuff. Strings are important, but thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.